Welcome back, it's Chris from the Hagon factory. So this week's video, we've got the 500 Hagon Velocette. It's got a bit of a clutch issue, so we'll have a look at that. We've got Peter Stevens back from holidays and he's back on the B31 engine for the slider. And we've got a quick update on the GP500. So let's have a look.
Okay, we've had a little bit of clutch issue with this particular bike. Although it's a Velocette motor, the frame and everything came with this gearbox, which is an Albion competition gearbox with no kickstarter. And these were fitted mainly to Hagon Japs and so on. This frame originally would have had a 500 Jap in it, and that's the gearbox they put behind them. It's got 3 speeds in it. Hagon removed one gear out of it.
Yeah, well, it's still got the 4 gears, but it's got a different ratchet.
Different ratchet, right.
So it knocks out top gear.
Right,
yeah.
Okay, so we started to have a bit of trouble with the clutch. You can put 3 springs or 6 springs in those clutches, and we had 3 springs in it, and it was light enough and it seemed to be okay, but it was slipping. So we went to 6 springs, and then it became difficult and too heavy to use.
And hard to find neutral. That was the first sign, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was hard to find neutral. So anyway, we've decided to have a bit of a look at it, and there was quite a few faults came up that I've discovered. The first one is the lever is tight on the gearbox, so this is going to make it a bit harder. Okay, every little fault you find, if you rectify it, it'll make it easier. So that takes a little bit of effort to pull that in. And then the adjuster, which has got a ball bearing in the end, which this end of the rod runs on, because we've been holding the clutch in for too long and so heavy, it's destroyed the end of the rod.
It's flared the end, yep.
It's flared the end, and not only that, it's welded the ball bearing to that end by spinning it and getting it that hot that it's actually welded itself to the rod.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yep.
It is.
Considering the amount of ride time we've had,
yeah.
It's not even in the hours,
no,
is it, really?
No, that goes through there and pushes the clutch. Now it's got sticky spots in it,
yep.
Which is another fault, another problem, which I will rectify. Now, another issue we had was when the pusher was in there, this was already past centre. It was over centre, and you lose your mechanical advantage when it's over centre. It needs, this rod, or this lever needs to be back here.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It was working its way in there.
It was in there, and of course, you haven't got the mechanical advantage.
Yeah.
You need this back here, so that you've actually got a purchase on it when you pull on the cable. The cable pulls that in. So they're the main problems that we've had with this clutch. Now, what I'm going to do is
so we've got the clutch apart.
Got the clutch apart. There's all the plates. That's the outer plate. It's pushed out to separate the clutch by this little mushroom. Just pushes in there.
Yes.
That separates the plates. I think we could do better than this. I might make a new outer plate with a bearing in it. But we'll see if we can get a piece of metal first, the right size.
Yep.
And we'll machine that up.
Yeah,
make an alloy one here. Now they're the springs. It had 6 of those in, and they're quite heavy.
Yeah, I got those from Hitchcock's.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 6 springs back in, but I'm going to make probably a 1/8 thick washer that'll fit in there. It'll space this out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still got the 6 springs, but not quite as much tension.
Yep.
And I think if we experiment with a couple of different thickness washers, I think we'll get it to the point where it won't drag and it won't slip.
And possibly a thrust washer.
Possibly a little thrust bearing in the end too will help.
Yep.
Yeah. some companies years ago used to bring out thrust bearing modified end plates for clutches, and they seem to make the clutch smoother and lighter, less friction happening. So I think we will get on top of this.
Yeah, well, I think the first sign was it was hard to get into neutral.
Yeah,
and we did have a couple of meetings where there were a couple of crashes and stuff, and we did get held up a little bit.
Yep.
On the starting grid and then at the start line.
Yep. And if you can't find neutral, and you try and sit there holding the clutch in, and all it's doing is destroying itself.
Yeah, and because we've got the lanyard for the kill switch on that side, you can't just reach down, because if it's one of those things you can't find it with your foot, but if you grab it with your hand, the gear stick, you can always slide into neutral.
You can usually find it fairly away into neutral.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we will be able to improve this a lot.
Yeah.
There's plenty of scope for improvement, so I think we will be able to improve it a lot.
Yeah, fantastic.
So if we iron out every fault that's in there, every little bit will help make it better.
Yeah, well, it was going to evolve, this thing, wasn't it? Because we haven't, since we've built it, we haven't really done that much maintenance on it, have we?
No.
It's always been just little bits and pieces that have let us down, so this is probably the biggest job so far.
Yes.
Since it's been together, so
yeah.
So I think it's done pretty well.
Yeah, and really, there's not a lot of work in doing this.
No.
Just a bit of time.
It's just a bit of maintenance, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, a bit of maintenance, a bit of time. Oh, and we've put a
pivot assist lever on.
Yeah, a better lever on it as well.
That's a Ballard's pivot assist lever.
Yep. So that might help a bit too.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely will.
So every little improvement will help it get to the point where it's quite usable.
And a new cable as well.
A new cable. And another thing with these clutches, like, people seem to have endless trouble with various clutches, but really you shouldn't, because all you've got to do is separate.
Yeah.
And if you've got the things to separate properly.
Well, these ones work pretty well because they put these gearboxes in Vincent's and everything.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just a bit of a teething issue, isn't it, really?
Yeah, just sort out all those faults, the little faults.
Yeah.
You get a series of little faults and they develop into one big one. Yeah.
Yep.
So, we'll see what happens there.
Fantastic.
Starting the assembly process for the 350 BSA. I've given the cases a good clean. I haven't washed this one because the has the ball race in it. What I'm doing now is I'm going around the mating surfaces, and anywhere I can see any signs of a blemish or a burr, or bruise or whatever you want to call it, I'm taking them off, just giving them a little bit of a touch with a file, so that when these two faces come together, there's a step there, and on the mating half there's a raised section that engages with that. It has been hard to get to go together. It doesn't want to fit nice. So what I'm going to try to do today is to get it into a condition that the two halves go together really nicely, and then having done that, I'll wipe up any remnants of metal that remained after it, and it's pretty good now. My head's not in that in that shot, but yeah, so I'll leave it at that and have a look, see what the other half looks like. It's been pretty much the same process with the other side. I've used a wide file to clean up around the edge of the rim of that lip, and just on the paper towel, while I'm thinking about it, I use a multi-purpose cleaner which has come from the supermarket, but I don't mind the paper towel in that it gives you a feedback, I suppose you could say, if you know you're picking stuff up that's fairly small, and if a surface has got any grit on it or any dirt on it, that shows up on the towel. I know it's aluminium, and aluminium will show grey, but yeah, I don't know what other people's thoughts are on the paper towel. I use it a lot more now than what traditionally happened with me is I'd have a piece of rag and I'd wipe everything with that bit of rag and wipe my nose with it or whatever, and then you end up, all you were doing was spreading dirt from dirty bits onto clean bits, and whereas the paper towel, you can have a look and see how it's going, and then bin it and get a new bit to clean it up. But I reckon that's to a state now where I've tried the other half on it, and the other half seems to come together nicely now. So see there, it's closed up. See there, it's all closed up around there. So that's the best it's been since I've been playing with it. So I reckon it's about time that I set it up on some. The other thing I use is high density foam blocks to take, lift off the surfaces off that are mating surfaces, oil sealing surfaces, lift them off the bench so that they don't get any more marks on them than necessary. So it's got a shim washer in there. I didn't put that in there, or didn't have anything to do with that, but I'd say that's been in there since it was built at some point. So anyway, it'd be an end float shim, I'd imagine. So yeah, the next step, I'll get the crank and give the crank a bit of a wipe over, and just see if we can put the bits together. Okay. The crankshaft assembly for the 350 is pretty clean. I've given it a good wipe over, made sure I didn't get any bits of lint on it, but someone has put a lot of hours into this assembly. The conrod has all been polished, and it's the flywheel's polished. So all I've done is just made sure it's clean, the big end feels good, all the rest of that's good. So I'm just going to lightly oil those bearings and put a bit of oil down on the big end. Make sure that's oiled up, and then put it in the crankcase, and made up the two halves together. And the crankcase has got some shorter bolts that hold it together, not the ones that mount in the frame. So I'll utilise those to hold it in place I've been suggested that I use a Loctite product to use on the mating surfaces, so I'll be doing that. And I've not used this before, but I'd imagine it's a good product, being Loctite. So see how it goes. Over and out.
Okay, we've got these Grand Prix fork covers, which we were lucky to be able to buy a pair brand new, and they fit here quite well, but seemed to be just a little bit of a gap up the top there. But I would say originally there would have had some sort of a rubber in there.
Yes.
So, well, that would be a certainty. It would have had a rubber in there. So what I've done is I went to the local bearing place and I got some really thick O-rings, which I can push over the top of the fork, over the fork stanchion, and when I pull it up into there, that'll compress it into there, and that'll make a nice little seal there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's all looking good.
Plenty of Triumph bits on the kitchen floor, on the lounge room floor.
Triumph bits everywhere.
Yep.
And she's looking good.
That is fantastic.
Once we get the front end in it, it'll be good. I've ordered a wheel rim for the front, a flanged alloy rim, and as soon as we get that, Chris is going to start organising a wheel.
Yes, we'll get that underway.
Yep, so that'll be good.
Yeah, fantastic.
And yeah, get to the front end in it, and we'll really look like we've got a motorbike.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yep, all right.
Hi, and welcome to the Black Swan Hotel, Bendigo's premier bike pub. We're open from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, noon till close. Roar in for a drink and a pizza. See you then.
Righto, same as every other week. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell everybody. Let's bring Hagen's back.